In 2015, Tim Ferriss stood backstage at TED, staring at an audience of 10,000 people waiting for him to speak. His palms were sweating. His chest felt tight. His mind screamed, "Run." He later joked the worst-case scenario was he'd just poop his pants on stage. Even Tim Ferriss, one of the biggest voices in personal development and Stoic philosophy, has moments when his emotions threaten to take over. Have you ever felt like that? Like your emotions are hijacking your mouth, your decisions, your life, leaving you with regret, shame, or frustration? You're not alone. The American Psychological Association reports that over 60% of people regret how they react during moments of stress. Whether it's snapping at a partner, sending that angry email, or spiraling in anxiety, those moments can cost us relationships, respect, and peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoics, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And modern authors like Ryan Holiday remind us that mastering this power is a super skill for living a calm and wise life. Holiday teaches that the gap between what happens to us and how we respond is where freedom lives. Tim Ferriss discovered that Stoic practices saved him from spiraling in business and life, teaching him how to pause instead of explode. This isn't just ancient philosophy locked away in dusty scrolls. Stoicism is alive and breathing, relevant for our fast-paced, stressful world. It's about transforming chaos into clarity, about stepping into any situation, personal or professional, and choosing your response instead of being enslaved by your reactions. And that's what this video is about. Today, we're diving into the wisdom of Stoic philosophy and the teachings of modern voices like Holiday and Ferriss to show you how to master your emotions, stay calm under pressure, and lead your life with wisdom and strength. Because here's the truth, your emotions don't have to rule you. You can learn to pause, reframe what happens, and build habits that make resilience your default mode. And you don't have to be a monk on a mountain to do it. So stick around. In the next few minutes, we'll explore real stories from people like Tim Ferriss and Howard Schultz, scientific insights from brilliant minds like Robertson and Massimo Pigliucci, and practical steps you can start using today. You deserve to feel calm. You deserve to feel powerful. And mastering your emotions is the path that leads there. Howard Schultz stood in a boardroom in 2008, staring at anxious faces around the table. The financial crash was crushing Starbucks. Profits were falling, stores were closing, and every headline spelled disaster. His first instinct? Yell. Fire people. Slam the table. Instead, he did something different. He paused. He took 3 deep breaths. And he asked one powerful question. What's the best long-term decision here? That pause saved Starbucks from imploding. And it's a perfect example of a timeless truth. Between what happens to us and how we react, there's a small space. In that space lies the power to choose. And in that choice lies our freedom, peace, and leadership. Epictetus, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, said it simply, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Modern author Ryan Holiday calls this small gap your fortress of freedom. It's the difference between saying something you regret and staying silent until the heat passes. Between making a wise decision or burning a bridge you might need tomorrow. Tim Ferriss, another leading voice in personal development and Stoic thinking, shares that mastering these tiny pauses saved him from million-dollar mistakes. He says, "Most of my biggest business mistakes started with me opening my mouth too fast." He jokes about it now, but the lesson is real. One rash reaction can cost you years of progress. Psychotherapist and modern Stoic scholar Robertson explains the science behind this pause. He says our brain has a part called the amygdala, which lights up like a fire alarm during emotional moments. But if we take just 2 seconds to breathe and pause, our rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, can step back in and help us respond wisely instead of exploding. Think of it like a traffic light. Red means stop. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say or do going to help or hurt? Massimo Pigliucci, another brilliant modern Stoic, teaches a simple practice called the Stoic pause. It's breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4, and breathing out for 4. Simple. Yes. Powerful. Absolutely. Because in those 12 seconds, you're breaking the chain between an emotional trigger and an impulsive reaction. Jocko Willink, the former Navy SEAL commander, used the same idea in combat. When bullets were flying and chaos was all around him, he'd tell himself, "Relax. Look around. Make a call. That's the Stoic pause in action, stopping to choose a response instead of letting panic take over. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has talked about this too. Early in his career, he struggled with explosive temper and frustration. He learned that stepping back, even for a few breaths, helped him respond instead of react, and ultimately shaped him into the disciplined leader and global brand he is today. Indra Nooyi, former CEO of PepsiCo, practiced something similar in boardrooms full of heated debates. She would deliberately remain silent for a few moments before responding, allowing emotions to settle and logic to lead. This earned her a reputation for grace under pressure, a modern-day Stoic quality. Holiday says that these pauses are tiny moments that change the entire course of your life. He calls them small acts of self-mastery. Tim Ferriss agrees, saying that a pause is like a secret superpower for leaders, parents, partners, and anyone who wants to navigate life with wisdom. And the science proves it. People who practice pausing, even just for a few seconds, report lower stress, fewer regrets, and better relationships. It's not magic. It's training. And the good news? Anyone can learn it. So right now, take a second and try it. Close your eyes if you can. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold it. Exhale for 4. Feel your shoulders drop. Your mind clear. That's your Stoic pause. It's your personal shield against saying or doing things you'll wish you hadn't. But mastering the pause is just the start. Because even if you stay calm in the moment, what happens when life hits you with a setback you didn't see coming? Next, we'll explore how Stoics transform obstacles into stepping stones, and how you can too. J.K. Rowling sat in her small apartment in Edinburgh, surrounded by rejection letters from 12 different publishers. She was broke, a single mom, battling depression. She could have seen those letters as proof she was a failure. But instead, she decided each rejection was one step closer to finding the right publisher. She reframed rejection as fuel. And the result? Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, transforming her life and millions of others. That's the power of reframing reality, a practice at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. It's the art of changing how you see events so they lose their power to break you. Ryan Holiday calls this the art of turning trials into triumphs. It's what the Stoics call the more fatty, loving whatever happens because it's all part of your journey, not the end of it. Tim Ferriss talks about this in Business and Life. He calls business failures tuition fees for life. Instead of seeing mistakes as disasters, he reframes them as the price of learning. He says, pain plus reflection equals progress. For Tim, reframing was the only way to keep his sanity when his startups were crashing or when he faced personal crises. Imagine this. Jeff Bezos poured millions into launching the Fire phone, and it completely flopped. Rather than sulk, he called it a billion-dollar lesson that paved the way for Alexa. That's reframing. Steve Jobs got fired from Apple, the very company he founded. Instead of letting it destroy him, he said it was the best thing that ever happened because it freed him to create Pixar and reinvent his career. Howard Stern, now one of the world's top radio hosts, was fired multiple times early on. He used each firing as a chance to reimagine his style, which eventually made him a broadcasting legend. William Irvine, a modern Stoic philosopher, teaches a simple tool called negative visualization. He suggests imagining how much worse a situation could be. Sounds dark. It's not. It's powerful. Irvine says it makes you appreciate what you have and turns everyday problems into manageable bumps rather than disasters. Greg Sadler, another modern Stoic teacher, offers a different angle. He says when facing social anxiety, like speaking up in a meeting or walking into a crowded room, you can reframe the fear as a chance to practice courage. Instead of thinking, what if I mess up, you tell yourself, this is my training ground for becoming braver. Ryan Holiday urges us to ask 3 questions when we're in the middle of chaos. 1. What does this mean for me? 2. What's under my control right now? 3. What can I learn from this? These questions stop your brain from spiraling into panic. They create space for you to respond instead of react. Tim Ferriss adds that writing these thoughts down in a journal can be game-changing. He calls it capturing chaos on paper because the act of writing slows your racing mind and lets you see patterns and solutions you might miss in the heat of the moment. Humor can also help in reframing. Jerry Seinfeld once joked, pain is just weakness leaving the body and entering somebody else's. Humor doesn't erase problems, but it changes how heavy they feel. Holiday says reframing is a superpower because it makes you unstoppable. Life will always bring problems, failures, heartbreak, financial hits. But how you see those problems defines whether they're roadblocks or stepping stones. So next time you get blindsided, whether it's a rejection letter, an angry email, or an unexpected challenge, pause. Ask Holiday's 3 questions. Write your answers. And remember how Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, and Howard Stern turned epic failures into the seeds of their greatest success. Because Stoicism isn't about pretending bad things don't happen. It's about transforming how we see those things. Reframing turns chaos into clarity and suffering into strength. But what about the day-to-day grind? How do we practice Stoic resilience in ordinary life when no one's watching and there's no applause? That's what we'll explore next. Tom Brady wasn't even a first-string quarterback in college. He was slow, overlooked, and drafted 199th overall into the NFL, a number most football fans know by heart. He could have accepted he'd never make it. But instead, Brady made discipline his religion. He focused on tiny daily improvements, building his mental and physical game until he became the most decorated NFL player of all time. That's the essence of Stoic resilience. It's not about waiting for big, dramatic moments to prove how tough you are. It's about what you do when no one's watching. It's the invisible reps you put in every single day. Ryan Holiday says, "The obstacle is the way." He means that every problem, frustration, or setback is a chance to train yourself, to build inner strength. Tim Ferriss adds that one of the most powerful tools for resilience is fear setting. Instead of hiding from fears, he writes them down step by step to see if they're really as terrifying as they feel. Tim says, defining your fears is more important than defining your goals, because clarity kills fear. Take David Goggins, a retired Navy SEAL and endurance athlete. He grew up in an abusive home, was overweight, and faced constant rejection. But he transformed his life by doing things that terrified him every day, like running ultramarathons or enduring brutal Navy SEAL training. For Goggins, pain became fuel. That's radical Stoic resilience in action. Warren Buffett, one of the world's richest men, isn't exactly running ultramarathons, but he's just as disciplined. Buffett reads for hours daily. He avoids emotional reactions in business and life, famously saying, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." His calm consistency has built one of the greatest fortunes in history. Patagonia, the outdoor gear company, weaves Stoic resilience into its business. They focus on sustainability, even when it costs more or takes longer. They see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as chances to live their values. Kai Whiting, a modern Stoic thinker, says that living virtuously includes making choices that benefit not just ourselves but society and the planet. Jonas Salzgeber, author of the Little Book of Stoicism, emphasizes that Stoicism isn't about one giant heroic act. It's about the tiny choices you make each day, like getting out of bed on time, finishing what you start, or speaking up when it's hard. He calls these small daily victories and says they're the real practice of Stoic resilience. Holiday insists that these daily practices aren't glamorous. No one applauds when you take a deep breath instead of yelling at your kids. There's no medal for journaling your frustrations instead of lashing out. But over time, these invisible habits turn you into someone unshakable. Ferriss agrees. He calls routines his insurance policy for a sane day. Whether it's meditation, cold showers, or writing morning pages, he believes rituals train the mind to handle stress before it hits. Here's a simple practice to try today. Tonight, write down 3 things that went wrong during your day. Then write how you reacted and how you wish you'd reacted instead. Holiday says this practice turns everyday life into a Stoic training ground. You're not just surviving chaos. You're learning from it, shaping yourself into someone stronger and calmer. Even humor has a place in resilience. As David Letterman once joked, if it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would get done. Stoic resilience isn't about being stone-faced. It's about learning to smile, even when life gets messy. And science backs it up. Studies show that people who consistently reflect on their day, set intentions, and practice small disciplines report less anxiety, stronger relationships, and a greater sense of purpose. Holiday says, the present moment is all you ever control. Make it count. Ferriss adds, small daily habits shape your entire future. That's the Stoic path, choosing the small things today that build an extraordinary tomorrow. So when the alarm rings tomorrow, remember Tom Brady grinding out silent reps, Goggins running toward discomfort, Buffett reading while others panic, and Patagonia choosing purpose over profit. Because true Stoic resilience isn't forged in dramatic battles. It's shaped in the quiet, unseen moments. And that's the ultimate power, becoming the kind of person who responds, rather than reacts, no matter what life throws your way. From mastering the pause like Howard Schultz in a boardroom crisis, to reframing setbacks like J.K. Rowling staring down rejection letters, to practicing quiet resilience like Tom Brady grinding out reps when no one's watching, Stoicism offers us timeless tools for navigating life's chaos. We've learned that the secret to emotional mastery isn't about never feeling anger, fear, or frustration. It's about pausing, breathing, and deciding how to respond instead of letting our impulses drive the car. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Ryan Holiday reminds us that the gap between stimulus and response is where our true freedom lives. It's in those small moments, pausing before we speak, reframing a problem, writing our thoughts down, that we build a life of wisdom and calm. He says, "The obstacle is the way." Every problem we face can become training for becoming stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Tim Ferriss, who once faced crushing business failures and personal darkness, credits Stoicism for saving him. He shares that defining his fears on paper helped him regain control and see challenges as tuition fees for life's greatest lessons. Ferriss tells us small daily habits shape your entire future. Because in the end, it's not the big moments that define us, it's the invisible choices we make each day. When David Goggins runs toward pain instead of away from it, when Warren Buffett stays calm as markets crash, when Patagonia chooses purpose over pure profit, they're all showing us that Stoic resilience isn't some ancient myth. It's a real, practical way to live today. And here's the truth, you don't have to be a philosopher or a billionaire to live this way. You don't have to move to a monastery or give up your career. You can start with one pause, one breath, one moment of choosing to respond instead of react. So tonight, maybe take a few minutes to write about your day. What triggered you? How did you react? How could you handle it better tomorrow? That's where mastery begins, not in perfection, but in practice. Holiday says, "The present moment is all you ever control. Make it count." And Ferriss reminds us that the smallest habits today become the strongest foundation tomorrow. So as you go back to your life, your work, your family, your dreams, remember this, you have more power than you think. You can train your mind to respond, not react. And that simple choice can transform not just your day, but your entire life. If this message spoke to you, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, or sharing this video with someone who might need it. Your support helps keep these powerful ideas flowing. Stay calm, stay strong, and remember, the obstacle is the way.
Hey, incredible growth seekers. Wow, what a journey. If this video resonated, subscribe now for more life-changing content. Join our community of self-improvers. Smash that like button to fuel more content on mindfulness, goal setting, and emotional intelligence. Share this video to create a ripple of positive change. Comment below about your growth journey. Your insights shape our content. Next week, boosting self-confidence and overcoming limiting beliefs. Don't miss it. Every interaction brings us closer to a world of empowered individuals. Let's make personal development global. Stay inspired, keep growing. Your best self awaits. Let's unlock it together.